Kogengigito namanda. The radiance of your face is splendid, splendid. Namanda. The passage that I'm quoting from is the very opening line to the Sambutsige, which was chanted as part of this morning's morning service. This is our standard chant for Sunday morning services. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this particular passage is because I was asked a question the other day that is very, very important and one that I just assumed. And so when I was asked the question, I thought I probably better talk about this on Sunday. And the question was, why do we chant? The simple answer is Buttoku Sandan, to praise the virtues of a Buddha. This term basically expresses the reason why we hold any kind of ritual service. It is all done for the purpose of praising the virtues of a Buddha. Now, this term itself is significant because we are being told, reminded, that we do not praise the Buddha per se. The Buddha is not asking to be worshipped. We are praising the virtues of a Buddha. So it's not praising the Buddha, we are praising what a Buddha does, what a Buddha is. So there's a slight difference in nuance there. It is not Butsu Sandan, it's Buttoku Sandan. It sounds better, so it's easier to say, but there's a difference between praising a Buddha versus praising the virtues of a Buddha. What are the virtues of a Buddha? A Buddha is someone who reveals. A Buddha reveals the truth. And it is this activity of the Buddha that is being praised. What are we being asked to look at, to see? What is being revealed to us when we chant? The answer is the virtues of a Buddha, but how does that relate to me? The Sambutsuge is how Pure Land Buddhism started in terms of the mythos. It is where a king hears the message of a Buddha, the words of a Buddha that reveal the truth to the king, that the king says, I want to spend all of my time learning how to see the world the way the Buddha does. I want to be able to see, to hear, to express the truth as a Buddha. A king is a very powerful person. But compared to what a Buddha can do, the power of a king is very, very limited. A king might be able to conquer continents, but a Buddha is able to conquer a heart. It may not seem as big or significant, but it is much, much harder. The story of the king hearing the words of a Buddha, deciding to give up his throne and even to abandon his kingdom in search of the truth, is how the Sambutsuge starts. And in giving up all of these things that we tend to constantly be striving for, the king goes up to the Buddha with the intent of becoming the disciple of that Buddha and begins by saying, your shining face is splendid, splendid. This may seem like flattery, but this opening line begins to help us to see how a Buddha revealed the truth to this king. The shining face of the Buddha is something similar that we experience in our lives when we look upon someone who is just as happy and assured as they possibly can be. The face of a person who feels in that moment everything is okay. Everything is as it should be. I am happy. This is the kind of radiance that we are able to sometimes see amongst our friends, amongst people, when they are feeling this good about everything. A Buddha is constantly revealing this face because a Buddha understands that every living being can experience this truth for themselves. A Buddha understands when a person has been moved by the Dharma that they wish to immerse themselves in the Dharma. When something like this happens, how can your face not shine? What is being revealed to us when we share this incident, these words, when we ourselves, in chanting the Sambutsuge, say, "Your shining face is splendid, splendid." In coming to the Sunday service, the conditions that allow us to meet with the Dharma have been fulfilled. It is now up to us to be able to realize that the conditions for us to meet the Dharma have been fulfilled. Am I willing to be able to hear and to share the Dharma? Will I see the shining face of the Buddha? In looking up at the altar, we see that the face of the Buddha is covered. This ornamental piece that is deliberately placed in front of the Buddha's face, the keman, is to remind us that we typically are not capable of looking upon the Buddha directly. We are not capable of seeing the truth directly because we always want to see the truth in our own terms. This was also true of Shinran Shonin. And because of this, in the Shoshin Nembutsuge, for example, Shinran Shonin tells us that the sky of faith is constantly covered by the clouds of doubt. We do not have the ability to see the blue sky. We oftentimes do not even want to see the blue sky. But it is for this person, me, that the Buddha shares their virtues with us, their wisdom and their compassion, because a Buddha cares about us just that much. It does not matter how much doubt, how many clouds we may send up to cover the sky. It does not matter how much fog we might create in all of our greed, anger, and stupidity. The light of the Buddha will continue to shine. And although we may not be able to see the blue sky directly, the Buddha nonetheless helps us to see anyway. As an aside, and as a somewhat humorous anecdote, for the longest time, I could not understand what that passage meant. If the blue skies are covered by clouds, then of course the light is being blocked. What am I being asked to see? It was when I was most challenged by that phrase, and I really, really, really wanted to understand what it meant, that I was transferred to the temple in Seattle. Seattle, their average day is overcast. When it's not raining, it's cloudy. There are only maybe 10 days an entire year where you can see the blue sky and you can really see the greenery around you. It is because of those 10 days that people in Seattle call the city the Emerald City. But if you're visiting Seattle and you're not there during the 10 days, all you can see is overcast, gloom, and doom. But it is in the middle of this where I had the chance to see what it looked like 350 days of the year. Every day was cloudy. Every day was foggy. But even then, I can still tell when it was the AM versus the PM. I knew when it was an afternoon. That's when I would go to a coffee shop and order a very large latte drink to help me get through the rest of the day. But it was that realization that helped me to understand what Shinran Shonin was trying to express in writing that phrase, Nashoshin Nembutsuge. The sun still shines through the clouds. That is the only reason why I can tell when it was afternoon versus night. The light of the sun helped me to see the clouds. Shinran Shonin must have been moved by this recognition, this realization, because he was able, through the vow of Amida Buddha, to see himself as he actually was. He was not a saint. He was not even a good person. He was someone who was constantly struggling with his own attempts to bolster his ego. He was someone who probably got upset at things not going the way that he wanted to. He may have even been very trivial in the things that he was angered by or was bothered by. This, of course, is my projecting myself onto Shinran Shonin, because this is who and what I am. I want things to go the way that I want things to go. I get mad at my brother. I get mad at my mother. I get mad at my wife. I get mad at my children because they do not do the things that I want them to do in the way that I want them to do it when I want them to do it. That is how selfish and callous I can be. Fortunately for me, however, I have been able to meet with Namu Amida Butsu. I am allowed to chant the Shoshin Nembutsuge every morning I come to this temple, and every morning I am allowed to hear the voice calling out to me saying that the blue skies of faith are constantly covered by the clouds and the fog. But even with the clouds and the fog, the sun is still able to shine through. It is what is helping me to see who and what I am. And in seeing who and what I am, to understand why Namu Amida Butsu is so special and important. It is what helps me to see that even while I cannot see the blue sky. This does not matter to the Buddha. The Buddha will continue to shine the light to help me to see the path in front of me, to help me to see who and what I am. And despite or because of who and what I am, the Sambutsige reminds me that the Buddha's face is shining splendidly, splendidly, because I have been embraced. I am being helped to hear the words of a Buddha. And when we come to service and we find ourselves repeating these words, hopefully we come to understand why we are praising the virtues of a Buddha. Because for someone like me, the Buddha will continue to shine for us with a face that is brilliantly shining, splendidly, splendidly, because the Buddha understands and is trying to help us to understand the joy of what it means to have been born, the joy of what it means to be able to hear and receive the Dharma. It is these virtues that we praise and why we ourselves also repeat, Ko Gen, Gi Gi. Your shining face is splendid, splendid.